If you return a topspin ball here, it will deflect. For a backspin ball at this spot, a topspin ball will tend to dive in a little. Side topspin will also dip in a bit. For example, a no-spin ball will also travel inward slightly. You could say it deviates from the center, away from the sweet spot. This contact point creates spin, this one, less so. So, to put it simply, a long, no-spin serve is faster because it contacts closer to the sweet spot. Actually, it's simple to tell spin from no-spin as long as you master these two contact points. This is key insight, a real tip here. This is a very important piece of practical advice. For a heavy spin serve, you must use this area of the racket. It's clearer from this angle, from this zone I'm covering. Serve from this area of the racket for heavy spin. Heavy spin. Basically, at the very moment you apply force, the instant you contact the ball, accelerate the brush. If you brush through this point on the ball, your opponent, I'm telling you, will find it very tricky. They'll feel the ball is extremely spin. Right, you must coordinate your power. That's the first prerequisite. The contact point can refer to the racket surface. That's the second aspect. The prerequisite, as Coach Sun taught before, is the serving motion structure. So then, how to coordinate and use arm power? The whole kinetic chain clearly isn't just the arm. The arm is just one part of it. Alright, next, let me explain. Where should the forehand loop contact the ball? What's the ideal contact point for a forehand loop? Look here from the front. This is the left side, right? Left, middle, right. Where do you think the forehand loop contact should be? Can you tell me in the chat, for example, left is 1, 2, 3 dot dot. So, top right, is that it? Who said that? Yes, actually, the best spot for looping, the optimal contact point, is what? The top right, especially for forehand loops. It must be in the top right. That's where power transfers most fully. The principle is similar to your leg drive. Yes, top right, zone 3. It relies on this position, even more toward the top right, closer to the part near your thumb base, the web. That's where you have the most strength, meaning the power from your whole body, the entire kinetic chain, transfers finally, from your toes to your fingers, right, achieving the most efficient transfer possible. After that transfer, the power is best at the racket tip. So, how do you actually hit with the tip? Actually, many people contact the middle or lower right part. Why? Because nowadays, generally, their backhands are better. So how do you hit the top right? The top right of the racket is the highest quality contact point. It allows you to transfer power most explosively. The power from this point can really penetrate to the other side. It delivers all the power you've stored up, gives that heavy quality to the opponent. See, so, contact lower, and the power might only be enough to control the ball on your own side. But once it crosses the net, the ball starts to decelerate and slow down. Top right. Do you know how to hit the top right? First, what needs adjusting? What position? The racket angle. It's about the racket angle. Zone 2 is easier to feel the ball. Not really. The best feel is at the top right. Same for penhold grip. Remember, the racket tip should tilt up, but tilting the tip up has a technique to it. Open the racket face is part of it, but there's a trick. Tilting the tip up. Here, many people fall into a misconception. How do they tilt it? They cock their wrist upward. That's not necessary. So to avoid this, first remember, don't drop the wrist. Don't let the wrist collapse. See this straight line along the forearm. Don't drop it, and don't cock it upward either. Because if you cock the wrist, you can't hinge it back properly. Everyone remember this part, got this part. Don't tense up the wrist either. This tilt is about the racket head pointing up. Actually, there are several ways to get the racket tip up. Okay, for example, if your racket is neutral. Like this, the tip isn't up, right? So how do we get it up naturally? Watch. I'm not cocking or dropping my wrist. I'm holding it neutrally, flat. It's very simple. Key point here, remember. Now is the time for the most crucial point. So, it's simple. I taught this before. Focus on your elbow. Point number 1. What's the right feeling? Imagine a string tied to your elbow, pulling it down. Elbow pointing toward the ground. See, my racket tip naturally rises. Then I can easily meet the ball, driving through to the top right of the racket. I can drive through it, brush over it, or sideswipe it. It's the most versatile position. So, how to avoid what I mentioned earlier? How to get the tip up without cocking the wrist? Or, why do they still fail to contact the tip even if they try? Because why? Their elbow is like this. Their elbow is pointing backward. So, the key to this position is simple, point your elbow downward. That solves getting the racket tip up. To get the tip up, it's about that racket angle. When gripping for forehand, you can slightly adjust the wrist. At this stage, like the clapping theory I taught before, extend the wrist back slightly, just a gentle, natural extension. And for the grip, you can grip slightly more with the thumb near the racket shoulder, bias it a bit toward the thumb. This naturally opens up the racket angle. This is the most correct, optimal forehand grip and angle. With this setup, as I said, you can hook the ball, drive through it straight, or sideswipe it. This is also the foundation of Coach Sun's signature Guangdong-style forehand, a very pleasing and effective part of the game. Master this element, and your forehand will unlock many new shots. Index finger like this, back of the hand like this. Don't push it out flat. Some like to grip like this to loop. What's wrong with that? Simple, it causes a wrist drop. See, the hand can't open up properly, feels awkward. This also leads to wrist drop, so find a middle ground. Keep it flush. Actually, on rubbers, there's usually a horizontal strip here, right? Place your index finger along that rubber strip. Thumb can rest lightly too. Place it right here. Here. Don't go higher or lower. Not too high, not too low. Want to see the full motion? I'll show you the complete action. This is my natural, regular stroke. The racket tip is naturally pointing up. How? Simplest. Before you swing, your racket tip should point to the upper right. Upper right is the standard. But some prepare like this, which leads to flipping. Because when the ball comes with this preparation, the hand is lower than the ball. See? So when you try to power through, you flip over. Right. Amateur players often have this issue. Type 1 if you do. Yes. So, the forehand racket tip must point to the upper right. This is a very critical, common flaw. See, if I point it upper right, setting up my stance feels awkward for some. Let me show you. If I do my normal preparation. If I'm facing the side, look, it feels a bit forced, awkward, right? Isn't it awkward? If the ball is here, doesn't it feel like you're twisting or flipping? But with the racket tip raised, hand above the ball, over the ball, you get that strong, commanding Guangdong-style loop. See? Isn't that comfortable? Isn't this racket angle comfortable? See? I always start pointing upward, from the upper right, take back, swing, and finish to the upper left. Let me show you the full swing, this kind of motion, see? Isn't it fluid and expansive? Look at my racket tip position. When the ball comes, as I initiate the forward swing, and connect with the ball's energy, The impact is right on the upper right tip. That ball, when looped, is incredibly heavy and penetrating. Now, if you're hooking your hand, dropping your wrist, or pointing your elbow back, you often loop like this. See, awkward, low-quality loop. That ball will be very mediocre. You see, with the proper way, I can transfer all my power, every bit of intended force, to the other side. I can drive through it, channel the power to the racket tip and release it. Like I said before about hurricane rubber, impact first, then brush. See, impact, brush, forearm snap. After closing, I can still project forward with my body weight. That's the advantage the racket tip angle gives you. Got it. Today's lesson was very detailed. This is something both pros and amateurs need to pay attention to.